Baton Rouge. All right. Busy week sports wise, busy weekend sports wise. We'll cover all that in a little bit. Looks like we're about a week away from the first scheduled execution in Louisiana in well over a decade. We'll cover that this morning. We'll, of course, visit with our friends over at Our Lady of the Lake for Medical Monday. We got Will Green in from LABI. We will be talking workforce there. Moon Griffon will join us at 8:15, and Janet Simmons and David Tidwell going to hop on board to talk about an event coming up that you're going to want to be dialed in on. But before we get to anything at all, we start off your show with top stories and trending.
Number 5.
Starting us off yesterday on the steps of the state capitol, people protesting 4 amendments up for a vote marched to the steps of the Capitol to honor the 60th anniversary of Bloody Sunday, when civil rights leaders marched from Selma to Montgomery. Reverend J.C. Richardson of Wesley United Methodist Church marched with the group. He said the outcome of the vote that's going to be on March 29th matters. Quote, these particular amendments were passed inside of a tax session. That within itself says to all of us that this is our Selma moment. This is our moment where we as a people must remind our leaders that they are servants. I don't know what being passed inside of a tax session has to do with anything. The call is the call for a special session, regardless. And but by the way, you're right. The vote is the vote. It's in our hands coming up on March 29th.
Number 4.
Louisiana is scheduled to hold an execution on March 18th. Will be the state's first since 2010. A federal judge is weighing whether the state's execution protocol using nitrogen hypoxia meets constitutional requirements. Sunday, Jesse Hoffman's attorneys submitted proposed findings and legal conclusions in their lawsuit fighting Louisiana's new nitrogen gas execution protocol. They asked the federal court in Baton Rouge to issue a preliminary injunction to prevent his execution while the court reviewed his constitutional claims. We'll talk about this a little bit more coming up at 6:35.
Number 3.
It was announced Saturday that the bus driver strike had come to an end. CATS apparently resumed full operations yesterday.
Number 2.
Madison Sheehan, Louisiana's Secretary of Wildlife and Fisheries, has been named deputy director at U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement. So she is now with ICE.
Number 1.
BRPD is investigating a fatal shooting that occurred on Friday in an apartment complex, killing a 14-year-old. Police said around 10:21 p.m., an unknown assailant fired multiple shots at an apartment at 5958 Cadillac Street, hitting teenager Derek Dorsey, who was later pronounced dead at the scene. L. Jane McNeely with BRPD said this was likely a targeted shooting, but they don't know if the 14-year-old was actually the target. Just, they know that it was likely the apartment was the target.
Well.
What's trending, John?
A Los Angeles, California neighborhood was struck by 4 earthquakes ranging in magnitude from 2.5 to 4.1 on Sunday afternoon.
4 earthquakes one day.
Absolutely insane.
How do you, I don't know. How do you live like that without ground underneath your feet? You know?
I don't know.
We have potholes because the ground underneath our feet isn't good.
Right.
We have bad roads because the ground underneath our feet isn't good. New Orleans has to bury their dead above ground because the ground underneath their feet is water. But to have the earth shake, after the second earthquake, after the third earthquake, you just leave it on the ground. You want me to pick the stuff back up? No, just leave it on the ground.
Yeah.
I'm not touching anything at all. It's not going to fall again if it already fell.
Yeah, I couldn't imagine living like that. I couldn't imagine living with that every day, just unsuspecting.
Right. And they think we're crazy.
Right? Yeah, exactly. Hey, in other news, President Donald Trump said on Sunday that his administration was in touch with 4 different groups about the sale of Chinese-owned social media platform TikTok, and that all options were good.
We kind of forgot about that whole 30-day countdown on TikTok, didn't we?
Yeah.
With, Russia, Ukraine, tariffs on everything, the Canadians wanting to cut off using American whiskey. Israel, Hamas is still a thing.
Yep.
Where it's with everything going on right now, we all kind of forgot that TikTok was up for sale. Remember, it was just a month or 2 ago when TikTok was the worst thing in the world.
Yeah.
That was the worst thing we had to worry about then.
Yeah.
I mean, fast forward to now, and it's what's the little video app? I mean, just 2 months ago, it was the biggest national security threat on the planet.
Yep.
Now it's barely a headline.
Right. Barely. So look, we don't know who the new James Bond will be, but Amazon, who now owns the rights, announced Bond will remain a man.
Shout out to Amazon.
Yeah.
Shout out to Amazon for cutting down this entire avenue for content. I was ready for them to make the absurd call to say James Bond will be a woman. I was ready for it because I was ready for all the anger over a fictitious character. I was ready for it because I was going to be angry too. It's James Bond, for crying out loud.
Right.
Like, you just, certain things you don't mess with.
That's right.
And now like they just shut down the entire avenue. Like the number of people who just have to delete takes, get rid of entire storyboards of podcasts they were about to do. All because there's no anger over James Bond flipping genders.
Oof. Well, that's good. Good on them, right? And now we just wonder, who's it going to be?
Right. Yeah. 611. 611 to talk 107.3 FM WBRP. We got our first break coming up in just a minute. When we come back from that break, we will visit sports. It's going to be sports over the next 2 segments here on a Monday because there's a lot of ground to cover. We'll start off with baseball. Softball's looking unbelievable as well. And we'll get to basketball on the back end of that. Before we take our break, though, got to remind you about the folks over at Mathern's. I'll be swinging by Mathern's a little bit later on this morning. Need to go check in with the folks over there to kind of see where we're at on the timeline of Kenilworth opening up. Yep, it's the OG location. Used to be Kenilworth Supermarket. If you live in the Highland Kenilworth area and have for some time now, you know them, you love them, you miss them, you want them back. Well, they're coming back. The people you love, the prices you miss, are coming back to Highland at Kenilworth, where it's Mathern's. They were first Kenilworth Supermarket, and then over the course of time, they've grown, they've moved around a little bit. Well, now they're coming back home to the OG location. Don't forget, though, whether you're downtown, where you got the 3rd Street location, near campus, where you've got the Nicholson Gateway Shopping Center location, or now out there by Highland at Kenilworth, Mathern's has got you covered, and you can save cash towards more groceries every time you shop when you download the Mathern's app today. I'm so glad I did my Mathern's at the right spot and didn't move those around. Because I hate when I have my voice on the back end of my voice.
You saw that odd timing between Mathern's and Cajun Soft Wash?
You sure that's not 22?
I just double checked it.
She put 2 lives back to back?
Yeah, 611 and 612. I had to double check it.
I just assumed you miswrote it, and I was going to do it at 22.
Oh, no. Yeah, I mean, you could.
Right.
But...
Well, I'm going to.
Yeah. I was going to say, yeah, you probably should. But, yeah, the way it's in the, the way it's out right here. Yep. Like right back to back.
Back it up, and turn to the left.
Any cuts here or no? No cut. Okay.
I didn't have a chance to go through them. I had no interviews for the first hour, so I spent a good 30 minutes. The first 30 minutes when I got here was trying to figure out what I was going to talk about at 6:35 because there ain't shit going on locally.
Yeah.
Well, hang on. There's about to be a whole lot of shit going on locally.
Yeah.
Like about to be, but I can't jump news cycles.
Yeah.
So
we're on the cusp of something.
Yeah, I got wind of some stuff on Saturday night, and then I followed up a lot yesterday, and was it the Kevin Hart stand-up special? It's about to go down. 616 Talk 107.3 FM WBRP mornings with Brian Haldane rolling right along. It is time for sports. Let's go ahead and start off with baseball over the weekend. Your LSU baseball Tigers were on the bump, at least on fire over the weekend. No slouch at the plate either, but I'm just the number of strikeouts compiled over the weekend was kind of ridiculous. Cade Anderson had 11 on Friday. Aaron Beatty had 15 on Saturday. Chase Shores, I don't have the box score in front of me, but he was dealing as well on Sunday. Friday, LSU wins 13-2 in 7 innings. They run rule North Alabama. Like I said, 13-2 your final score. They come back on Saturday with a 6-2 win on a game that got moved up because of because of weather. And then fast forward to Sunday, they post up an 11-5 win, also over North Alabama, bringing LSU baseball to 16-1 on the season, just in time to start looking forward towards conference play. Now, before they get to conference play, your baseball Tigers have Xavier tomorrow night. That is Xavier of Ohio. Tomorrow night, 6:30 p.m. First pitch inside Alec Box Stadium. Coverage will begin on our sister station, Eagle 98.1 at 6. Fast forward to Friday. You'll open up conference play hosting Missouri. And then the next week they'll go to Texas. So Missouri, not the best in the SEC to start things off. So you get kind of an on-ramp to conference play by hosting Missouri this weekend. Moving from baseball to softball, kind of ridiculous what Beth Therine is doing so far. 23-1 on the young season. Another fantastic weekend out at Tiger Park. LSU posts up 4 wins over 2 opponents. You had 2 games against South Alabama. They played a doubleheader on Friday against South Alabama. And this was supposed to be 1 on Friday, 2 on Saturday, 1 on Sunday, but they moved things around again to meet up with the weather. So Friday they beat South Alabama 2-0. Then they come back and run rule them 18-4 in 5 innings. Turn around Saturday. Now you're taking on Minnesota. You post up a 10-0 run rule against Minnesota. Win that one in 5 on Saturday. You come back on Sunday, grab another dub. This one, another run rule, 10-2 in 5 innings with the win over Minnesota there. So Beth Therine's Tigers will now take on UL Lafayette in Tiger Park. Also Tuesday night, 6 p.m. your first pitch there. And nope, we don't have a pregame on that one because we don't pick up LSU softball until this coming Friday. That being said, we pick up LSU softball this coming Friday. LSU is hosting Kentucky in conference play, 6 p.m. your first pitch on Friday, as they will be out at Tiger Park. And I believe that's when we're supposed to start picking up softball coverage right here on Talk 107.3 FM. It's time for the Fox Business Report. We'll talk basketball next. And good morning, Christy. Welcome in, sweetheart. Confess your All right, let's go ahead and start off on the interstates as we do. I-12 westbound, you got your normal congestion coming in from Denham Springs, or from all parts of Livingston Parish, really, but around the Range Avenue exit, that's where the congestion will pick up. That congestion is intermittent until you get into Baton Rouge. I-10 westbound, looking good coming in from Ascension Parish. 10 eastbound, looking great coming in from West Baton Rouge. Both bridges are wide open, and 110 is wide open as well. Zooming in on the map here, and I got some kind of delay showing on St. Ferdinand Street heading into downtown. Like after Highland turns into St. Ferdinand, before you get to Government Street, my map is showing me delays, but my traffic incident report is not showing me anything that's happened right there. So be on the lookout for it. It extends for about a block, so it's not that bad, but it looks like you're going to come to a stop for a good for a little bit while you're in there. Meanwhile, also on our surface streets, there are 2 accidents to report. BRPD working an accident, Coursey at Doral. That was posted up about 25 minutes ago. And looking to about 10 minutes ago, we saw an accident posted up North River Road at River Park Boulevard. That's what's cooking over at your Shawbills Tire Traffic Center. 625 Talk 107.3 FM WBRP mornings with Brian Haldane, rolling right along. We're going to get you to LSU women's basketball in just a minute. As they made a little bit of a run. They picked up a dub over in the SEC basketball tournament before falling to Texas, and man, that game was frustrating. But let's start off on the men's side and where they're going to be at in the SEC tournament coming up this week. Action will tip off on Wednesday. LSU will be in game 3. They'll be taking on Mississippi State. LSU is the 15 seed, taking on the 10 seed in Mississippi State. Tip-off will be 6 p.m. on our sister station, Eagle 98.1. Pregame begins at 5:30. Now, you got Mississippi State to start off. The good news here is Auburn is on the opposite side of the bracket. So, best case scenario, you won't have to see the Auburn Tigers until you get to the championship game. And I don't think many people are thinking LSU is going to get to the championship game, but it is there. The possibility is there, and the way things are mapped out, you won't have to see number 1 until then. That being said, the slog you'll have to go through to get to it is damn near impossible. LSU has Mississippi State in the first game. If they win that one, they have to go play Missouri. If they beat Missouri, they got to go play Florida. If they beat Florida, they've got to play likely Alabama, but possibly Kentucky in the next game before making their way all the way to the championship. And oh, by the way, they have to do this over the course of 4 days. If you win on Wednesday, you play Thursday. You win on Thursday, you play Friday. Win on Friday, you play Saturday. Win on Saturday, you get to have a go at the number 1 team in the nation, possibly on Sunday. So not going to be the easiest of roads for sure, but everybody knew that, though. This is the Southeastern Conference. The way this conference has played out this year has been ridiculous, to say the least. LSU, of course, dropped their season finale on Saturday to Texas A&M, and it's just been a rough go of it for the Tigers, and it's a shame too because they got some decent guys on this team. They've been 1 guy short, possibly 2 guys short, but 1 guy short for most games, 2 on a few. So Wednesday, 5:30 p.m. will be pregame on Eagle 98.1. Flipping it over to the women's team as they're looking ahead to the NCAA tournament. Ninth-ranked Lady Tigers got bumped from the SEC tournament on Saturday night. They lost to Texas 56-49. Flau'jae Johnson did not play. Flau'jae Johnson averages more than 7 points a game, so this probably would have been a win for LSU had she played, but she's still nursing her shin injury. Anissa Morrow left the game in the third quarter with an injury to her left ankle. Michaela Williams was on the bench for long stretches due to foul trouble, and even still, the Tigers came out with just 7 points short. Coach Mulkey, proud of her team's defensive effort against the number one team in the nation.
They only scored 56 points with all their weapons. So I thought it was a game of defense. I thought both teams are defensive minded, just a lot of aggressive play, just everything was hard. In the third quarter, both teams, I think, scored 11 points. I'm not positive, but I think in the third quarter, they only shot 20%.
Mulkey says she had no reason to put Morrow back in the game after she went down with her ankle injury. Said both her and Johnson will be back for the NCAA tournament.
She was ready to come back out there, and the doctors, no, why would you go out there? Win or lose, we got playoffs hosting, but no. And Flau'jae will be back. Everything's good. I know the NCAA sits there and, they don't have we have everybody.
Which is great because other players got the opportunity to shine and grow into themselves over just a couple games without Flau'jae. Miracle Shepherd being one of them for sure. By the way, Williams led the team with 11 points. She says she felt she let her team down by getting into foul trouble.
I just have to be more disciplined, knowing that my team needs me, knowing that we don't have Nice and Flau'jae. I'm taking this one to the chin because I feel like I could have given more to my team and been more smart and been better of a leader.
So now we look ahead to Selection Sunday, and then we know LSU will be hosting. We just don't know the rest of it yet. We're about a minute away from news, traffic, weather. When we come back from that, we'll be talking about the death penalty, as we're about a week away from seeing the first execution in Louisiana in over a decade. So let's go ahead and get you to, we'll start off with ABC News before hitting our local news. We will have traffic. Balin Rogers will have your forecast. And then I got the chance to visit with Attorney General Liz Murrill a little over a week ago to talk about what's to come. We will break that down for you next. Right now, and as a reminder, next hour, Will Green from LABI. I'm looking forward to this conversation. Workforce. We're talking workforce. We're talking jobs in Louisiana. That's coming up at 7:35. Right now, here's news. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. It is. Thank you, Ashley. I'll make sure that's included. After traffic, come back to me before the stop set. Is it connected? Does it automatically play?
Yeah, it does.
Okay, then don't worry about it. I'll do it before weather.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it just automatically.
Never mind. He got it. Appreciate the heads up, Ashley. We were on it. Apparently, we were on it. That sounded like a gunshot. So, I mean, a shotgun.
Over here?
Yeah, no, it was the door.
Oh,
It was the door. Like,
yeah.
but like that. I mean, that thing had to swing closed to get there. Look at the glass didn't bust
yeah.
out of it.
Yeah. Yeah, it sounds really dramatic because of the echo, I guess.
Cause, it echoes the whole way up the stairwell.
Yeah.
I brought home over the weekend about 250 to 300 pages worth of show prep, like to start digging in on, and I got to none of it.
Wow.
None of it over the weekend.
Is that just wrapped out for the next week?
No, there's about 8 different stories I'm looking at that aren't stories yet, but are about to be.
Developing, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Advancing.
Advancing.
Shit that's come up in the past needs to come back up again.
Hmm.
I need you to see if my out time is 46 or 47. I don't know if Cade's back on the case yet.
Okay, I'll check it out. You know what? 46.
Gotcha.
You got it right there. Do you want to get out at 46?
Yep.
Okay. Cool, cool.
You heard Ray in our traffic report mention that accident on 4-H Club Road in Denham Springs that's blocking off Bass Pro Boulevard. Shout out to Ashley in the chat over on Facebook Live who posted that up for us to be on top of things. You can contribute in real time as well over on our Facebook Live feed. And don't forget, we are live every day on Facebook Live, YouTube Live, or on our app for the Talk 1073 mobile app. And it's all brought to you by the folks at Lake Urgent Care. All right, time for your forecast. Here is Balin Rogers. Bump, bum, bump, bump, bump. 6:38. Talk 107.3 FM WBRP. Mornings with Brian Haldane. Rolling right along. All right, we're going to talk death penalty here in just a second. Can I rewind the clock back to Saturday night? My goodness. I hope everybody was nice at home and tucked in bed when that storm rolled through Saturday. Man, you remember heading into the weekend, LSU was making plans to revamp, move games up to get ahead of the storms and whatnot. And all day long, we were anticipating rain. We get a little drizzle here, a little drizzle there, and I mean like a drop or two, barely. I went out to an event at that's part of a Catholic retreat, and on the way home, man, so I was in La Ranger, and on the way home, as I got to Walker on 12 westbound, I mean the skies just opened up, and we're talking. This is like 10 o'clock at night. 10 o'clock at night, and I mean, it wasn't even rain. It was just sheets of water. Just absolute buckets upon buckets. Oh, man, it was like that, too. And I had to turn around and go from coming into Baton Rouge to go back down to New Orleans. And it continued like that, well past it. Like, went into Baton Rouge, went to the house, then headed down to New Orleans. And as I was on 10 eastbound, heading into New Orleans, it stayed like that all the way through at least Gonzales before clearing up. And then it hit me again over the Bonacary Spillway. I mean, everything that was promised from the dangerous weather on Saturday night was delivered. It was just delivered super late. And by the way, looking ahead in the forecast, I don't know if Balin got that far ahead, but this coming Saturday, it's looking like we're going to get it again. Hopefully it's not as bad this time around. Louisiana is scheduled to hold an execution on March 18th. This would be the state's first since 2010. Right now, a federal judge is weighing whether the state's execution protocol using nitrogen gas meets constitutional requirements. Sunday, Jesse Hoffman's attorneys submitted proposed findings and legal conclusions in their lawsuit fighting Louisiana's new nitrogen gas execution protocol. A little more than a week ago, we had our Attorney General Liz Murrill on the show to talk about getting back to actually, completing the law. We are a state that allows for the death penalty, and having been 15 years since the last time the state has executed anyone, I asked Attorney General Murrill, how do you get the ball rolling again in order to do what the law says we're supposed to do?
Well, I think we have gotten the ball rolling, and that was by setting some warrants and asking for warrants to be set and setting dates for the penalty to be carried out on those people who we knew had exhausted all of their post-conviction relief. Mm-hmm. And that has a way of jump-starting the system. I mean, everybody knows that we are ready to move and that we intend to move. There's been so much time that everybody has been just sitting, waiting for the state to do something that, we now have to go back and look at 56 cases and see where they all stand and make sure that they move. And I may have to move some legislation to make sure that we can, make this move more efficiently.
Now, you won't have time to move legislation before Hoffman's scheduled execution, provided it happens when it's scheduled, because that's coming up on March 18th. But like I said, Hoffman's attorneys submitted proposed findings and legal conclusions in their lawsuit fighting the new nitrogen gas execution protocol. Well, I asked Attorney General Murrill, if you're questioning the constitutionality of the nitrogen hypoxia, but we've already determined that we can't get to the drugs for the lethal injection, like, how can you shut down one without putting another back on the plate? Like, your argument against the nitrogen hypoxia, as it stands right now, haven't we been painted into a corner as that being the only way to execute someone in the state?
That's a little bit of a complicated question, just because it has to do with how the Supreme Court has either allowed or disallowed these kinds of challenges. And, what the current precedent says is that if you want to challenge a method of execution, you have to identify a different method, or your case can't go forward. So that's one of the obstacles that they have. They just, they're opposed to the death penalty. These are, the death penalty opponents. And then the lawyers for the individuals who are facing the death penalty, their job is obviously to try and prevent that from going forward, or prevent it, or get the conviction overturned, or somehow get the penalty commuted to life in prison. So they're constantly working in that direction. That is their job. But mine and the district attorneys and the states is to move the law forward, carry out the law as it is on the books and as it was intended by the jury and the judge who gave this person this sentence.
All right. Well, I want to pull something out of what she said there, because I find that this is an unbelievably important part of this. Generally, they are opposed to the death penalty. When you see any argument against nitrogen hypoxia, you have to ask yourself the follow-up question. Was there any method of execution that you would approve of? If you're against nitrogen hypoxia, tell me what you want to replace it with. Or are you just against the death penalty overall and you're using nitrogen hypoxia, or you're using using this method or you're saying this method is unconstitutional when you can't present a constitutional way to do it? Because if that's the case, then your argument is not against nitrogen hypoxia. Your argument is against the law as it stands. And you need to go fight that battle. If you are anti-death penalty, you need to fight the battle of making us a non-death penalty state or just a life sentence state. But as it stands right now, the law states that we are a death. I'm completely indifferent to the. Oddly enough, right? Something that is so unforgiving as the death penalty, or irreversible as the death penalty, and I'm completely non-committal on it because I see both sides of the argument. On the one side, the eye for an eye justice, I completely understand. More than that, those who are sentenced in death penalty cases and the amount of hurdles that have to be overcome in order to get a conviction in a death penalty case and through all the appeals and everything else like that, when you see that play out in real time, more often than not, we're going to go up to 50. More often than not, the person who was convicted has so brazenly said so many times that they are not going to be a member of our society. And they are going to do everything they can to disrupt society and make sure that they aren't players here. And if you let them go, they're going to kill again. That whole sort of thing. So I see the side that says punish them with the death penalty. I also see the side that says if they're locked up for the rest of their lives, what difference does it make? They have to live with who they are and where they are. If they are locked up forever, they're not here to hurt us anymore. I get both sides of the equation. Plus, add to that, I'm Catholic. That's neither here nor there, but it is kind of a part of it. And that we believe that redemption is possible at any time. Now, that being said, those who are opposed to the nitrogen hypoxia say that, let me go back to the story from WBRZ. Reverend Jeff Hood, spiritual advisor to Kenneth Smith, who was the one who was killed and executed in Alabama. Quote, when they turned the nitrogen on, he began to convulse. He popped up on the gurney over and over again. It's wrong to experiment on people, but that's what I saw. That was his quote. Well, the story itself says while convulsions may occur, they're not linked to pain. Oxygen levels drop rapidly, leading to unconsciousness within seconds of a few minutes, depending on breathing. The state has argued that nitrogen hypoxia is the quickest, least painful, and most practical option. I don't think anyone's experimenting on people. They know the science behind it. And it is a different experience to view it. I don't want to meet the person who can view an execution and not feel something. So no hate for Reverend Jeff Hood here. I don't want to meet the person who can see life being expelled from someone and not walk away feeling something. I mean, if you're a victim's family member, then naturally you're going to feel some level of closure. Maybe even some level of revenge or spite or something. I hesitate to use the word justice there, but I'll use that word. You might feel justice. If you are a third party who has nothing to do with this, I would expect watching someone die at someone else's hands, not when God says so. Watching someone die at someone else's hands. If you can walk away from that and not feel anything, man, that in and of itself would be monstrous. But it's important to not let emotion overrun the science. Let's get back to Liz Murrow for just a second. Because one part of this equation that I can't help but notice is you are seeing Hoffman's attorneys acting quickly right now. It's been 15 years since we've had an execution. What's going on since then?
Nothing. They've just been sitting, because in a death penalty case, the longer that you have no action, the better. So, you know, they had no incentive to move these claims forward in court because there was no threat of an execution being carried out. If there was, then they would have moved to have their claims decided, because that's how you get a stay of execution. I have a claim, it hasn't been decided, but don't execute me until my claims are decided or ruled on, all the way up to the United States Supreme Court. You know, so they have been patiently waiting for the state to resume carrying out the penalty with no incentive to move these claims until that happens.
But that's the part I don't understand, though. You had 15 years to get moved from death penalty to life sentence. I don't understand why a colossal lack of action on that front. We're coming up on 550 at Talk 107.3 FM WBRP. That means we will be hitting your money now. What?
650.
Dadgummit. Hang on.
In real time here. It's all good.
My apologies. We have a clock in the studio that's not connected to anything else, and I'm just gonna be wrong for 6 months, I guess. It's because I don't know how to reset it. Coming up on 650 at Talk 107.3 FM. I guess I'll tell you about Cajun Soft Wash when we get back, because that's what I was supposed to be doing right there. We're gonna talk jobs. It's next. Right now, here's your money now.
My bad.
No. I'm glad you did. That was funny. Because honestly, I had painted.
I knew listeners were probably thinking this earlier.
Yeah, honestly, I had painted myself into a corner, and I didn't want to go from death penalty to Cajun soft wash, so I didn't know what I was going to do for that last 60 seconds.
Give you a Cajun soft wash.
Yeah.
As you're waterboarding them. There's no way. Yeah, I was gonna say there should be a way, right? There's got to be.
Is it 2008? There we go. 6.
That's the year they have on it?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Oh, holy hell. That was the chair, wasn't me? I think I've learned how to reset this thing.
Oh yeah, man. That's good.
Shit. I got 652.51. 2, 3, 4.
I got 5, 6, 7.
So I'm 1 second
8.
short.
Yeah, not bad.
That's way better than it was.
Yeah.
All right. Sonny says laughing gas seems like a good way to go. Why not heroin?
Oh,
No, let's be serious. What happens there? You don't feel anything, right?
I guess. I don't know.
I've never taken heroin
I've never
before.
taken heroin.
But I don't see a problem with saying first you're going to feel really good, and then you're going to feel really dead. Like, although, what was Jesse Pinkman's girlfriend's name? That didn't look pleasant.
Yeah.
I'm supposed to get her on for an interview.
What? Really?
Yeah, Ritter, Karen Ritter,
Yeah.
Kristen Ritter. Jane was her character's name.
Wonder what she's been up to.
Oh, I can tell you right now. Because I got rejected for the... No, I had that one scheduled at the same time as something else.
Oh.
And it turned out I wasn't going to be able to do it. Ritter. Of Marvel's Jessica Jones. She's in Jessica Jones.
Oh, yeah. That's a show I never really gave a chance.
And she's got another one called Retreat. .655 Talk 107.3 FM WBRP mornings with Brian Haldane rolling right along. All right, business owners, homeowners too, by the way. Take a look at the walls of your business, your actual physical building, the structure itself. Got that little green tinge to it. Got a little mold, little mildew, little algae building up on the outside. Well, if it's on the walls, it's likely on your roof as well, and can actually cause damage to your roof. Algae, moss, lichen, all these things can cause damage to your roof. Number one reason for premature failure of roofs, by the way. Your roof could lose up to 50% of its service life from microorganisms. How do you get rid of that? Folks at Cajun Soft Wash are your answer right here. And by the way, the same is true of your roof at home. The folks at Cajun Soft Wash are your answer right here. Check out CajunSoftWash.com. CajunSoftWash.com. Now is the time, y'all. As we get into the moving into springtime, spring cleaning isn't just about what's inside. Get a look at the walls of your home, walls of your business. Get a look at your sidewalks, your driveway, your parking lot. They'll hit it all up at CajunSoftWash.com. It's safe, it's effective, it's unbelievably affordable, and the money it can save you by extending the life of your roof by 50% is also, not a bad deal right there. CajunSoftWash.com. Okay, story you heard in news at the bottom of the hour. More than 400 workers, very soon, more than 400 workers at the International Paper Mill in Compton will be out of work when the plant closes next month. Susan Bourgeois, our economic development secretary, says they're not going to be employed for very long, if at all.
It lowers the maximum rate.
Is that cut 4? My bad. Go with cut 4 here, please. Sorry.
The expectation is about 90% of those direct workers who were laid off, around 400 people, were going to be absorbed either in the nearby International Paper Mill in Mansfield or with some other related adjacent companies that do this kind of wood pulp service work.
Bourgeois says, on the other hand, there's a ripple effect of the plant's closure that Governor Landry is focused on here.
When you shut down a facility of that size and scale in the community, there are residual workers, there are downstream implications that are as meaningful as the 400 international paper jobs.
Bourgeois says the closure of the plant means a major loss of tax revenue for Natchitoches Parish, so the state is looking at ways to repurpose the plant's site itself.
Do they plan on selling it to continue to another company who can continue the same kind of work? Do we have some opportunity to help them place a company there, buy the site from them, or lease the site from them?
This is one of the things that I'm looking forward to our conversation with Will Green from LABI coming up at 7:35, because as our economy changes, as we look to grow, there are going to be instances like this where it's not all just addition. Sometimes you're going to have a little bit of subtraction, and can you add more on the back end to make us just better for in-migration, better for everyone having a job, and just raising the overall economic bar? Will Green coming up at 7:35. Right now, here comes news. That's my bad entirely, dude. Sorry about that. 7, 8, and 9 are going to be at 7:55.
Right.
I flip-flopped them there. Because when I first wrote that down, it was just before 5 o'clock this morning.
Yeah.
And
oh no, it's all good.
After I thought about it for a minute, I'm like, it doesn't make sense to do Will and the story back to back. I need that story before Will,
Okay.
so that I can ask Will about that story.
Okay. Yeah, it's all good.
That's my fault. Does anybody have a heroin answer for me? Why not heroin in the death penalty? I mean, it's not like they wouldn't have it on hand. Like, I'm sure some drug bust somewhere has confiscated a ton of heroin. Why not fentanyl?
Maybe.
That seems to be all the rage on the streets, and they keep,
I mean, what's yeah, Galen says fentanyl would be effective. So. Right?
Oh, all the comments just popped up. What about sodium pentobarbital, the drug used to put pets down? Very peaceful. I saw sodium pentobarbital somewhere along the way. Shoot. That was another really, really good question posed. I don't know. If I was on death row, I'd request propofol. Make it a double, work for MJ. Wasn't propofol Prince as well? Was it? I mean, it seems to check all the boxes with the fentanyl, right? It's you go to sleep and you don't wake up. God knows we got enough of it to go around. Prince was fentanyl. Okay. 7:05. Talk 107.3 FM, WBRP, mornings with Brian Haldane, rolling right along. Hour 2 coming your way right now. Brian here with you, John LaBeouf producing. Starting off your second hour at 49 degrees in downtown Baton Rouge, on our way up to 71 before it's all said and done. All right, we got Medical Monday coming up in our next segment. We got Will Green from LABI at 7:35. So let's get right to it. We got top stories and trending coming your way right now.
Number 5.
Number 5 takes us back over the weekend, where people protesting 4 amendments up for vote up for vote at the end of this month marched on to the steps of the state capitol to honor the 60th anniversary of Bloody Sunday, when civil rights leaders marched from Selma to Montgomery. Reverend J.C. Richardson of Wesley United Methodist Church marched with the group, saying the outcome of the vote matters. He said, quote, "These particular amendments were passed inside of a tax session. That within itself says to all of us that this is our Selma moment. This is our moment where we as a people must remind our leaders that they are servants." I don't know what that has to do with when it was passed, but they are up in front of us. So, yeah, the vote will be the vote. This is our
Number
moment.
4.
Louisiana is scheduled to hold an execution on March 18th. We talked about this a little bit last hour. Be the state's first since 2010. A federal judge is weighing whether the state's execution protocol using nitrogen hypoxia or nitrogen gas meets constitutional requirements. Sunday, Jesse Hoffman's attorneys submitted proposed findings and legal conclusions in their lawsuit fighting the new nitrogen gas execution protocol. They asked the federal court in Baton Rouge to issue a preliminary injunction to prevent his execution while the court reviewed his constitutional claims.
Number 3.
It was announced Saturday that the bus driver strike had come to an end. CATS was able to resume full operations yesterday.
Number 2.
Madison Sheehan, the Louisiana Secretary of Wildlife and Fisheries, is no longer the Secretary of Wildlife and Fisheries. She's been named Deputy Director at the U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement, so she moves on over to ICE.
Number 1.
BRPD is investigating a fatal shooting that occurred on Friday in an apartment complex, killing a 14-year-old. Police said around 10:21 p.m., an unknown assailant fired multiple shots at an apartment on 5958 Cadillac Street, hitting teenager Derek Dorsey, who was later pronounced dead at the scene. Elgene McNeely with BRPD said this was likely a targeted shooting, but they don't know if the 14-year-old who was hit was the actual target. What's trending, John?
Well, coming out of Los Angeles, California, a neighborhood there was struck by 4 earthquakes ranging in magnitude from 2.5 to 4.1 on Sunday afternoon.
I don't know. How do you do that? How do you just live on
Right.
4 of them in a day?
And here we have seasons for hurricanes, but this could just happen any moment, right? I mean,
there's no earthquake season. Is there an earthquake season? There's no earthquake season. There's a wildfire season.
No, yeah.
I got that. I understand that. But to have 4 of them.
Yeah. Apparently, as I was reading, there are no immediate reports of damage or injuries.
No.
So that's good.
They're built for it, I'm sure, the same way we're built for hurricanes, or we're slowly becoming built for hurricanes.
Yeah.
We're getting the fortified roofs up as quickly as we possibly can.
That's right.
But that being said, though, man, I've never been in an earthquake before, so I don't know. I've never been in an earthquake before, so I don't know the feeling.
In other news, President Donald Trump said on Sunday that his administration was in touch with 4 different groups about the sale of Chinese-owned social media platform TikTok, and that all options were good.
Okay, I'm here for it. It's great. I'm still a big TikTok fan.
Yeah.
I will tell you this though: they're getting heavy on the commercials.
Really?
Heavy on the commercials. They're not as bad as Snapchat. They're not as bad as Reels.
Right.
But they're getting there.
Oh.
Heavy on the commercials.
Were they as bad before?
No.
Really? Okay.
No. It was a lot more user-driven content.
Yeah.
And now it's a lot more sponsored. And they know my target demographic. They know your demo inside and out, and they know how to put those commercials up, the spots that leave you questioning. I don't even know what L-carnitine is, but apparently I'll get more out of my workout if I use it. I don't even know what thermogenics are. Actually, I do.
Right.
But
still,
I'm getting, I get fed so many workout commercials, and then everything else is,
well, that's good
for matters downstairs.
Oh,
I'm a 48-year-old man. I'm a definite target.
Okay.
I'm a definite target for those commercials.
Okay. Oh man, I'm
And
not
I'm
even
like-
gonna go down there. I was
I
gonna.
know.
I was gonna.
I don't even. I
We were-
scroll right past them. I don't. I'm good.
You know
I'm
what?
okay.
We don't. We don't know yet who the next James Bond will be, but Amazon, who now owns the rights, announced Bond will remain a man.
Good for them.
Yeah.
Good for them. Just squash all the talk before it even gets out of hand.
Yeah.
Because the longer you leave that door open, the more likely someone's going to put a foot inside it to make sure you can't close it.
Yeah.
And yeah, if you had said to me when they first started questioning whether or not is James Bond, who's the next James Bond going to be, and then the second question becomes, well, what if it's a black guy? I don't know. What if it's a black guy? Who cares?
Who cares?
And then somebody says, well, what if it's a woman? And I'm like, it's James.
Right.
I think I only know one woman named James. That's
Really.
actually I do. Actually, I do.
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But here's the thing, though. If you're going to make James Bond a woman, do you change the name?
Yeah.
Would it
well,
be Jane
that changes that.
Jane Bond?
Right. But that changes everything entirely, right? I mean,
It
we don't
do-
want to take away from James.
Well, because half of the personality of James Bond is the womanizer.
Mm.
Half of the personality is the seducing women.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't have a female James Bond seduce a man. We're easy.
You know what would change everything?
What?
If it was a trans man?
Why?
What?
Why would you
Everyone
even
else
put that
was
out there?
thinking, everyone else.
Why?
Was
No,
thinking it.
nobody was thinking that,
Really?
John.
Nobody?
No.
Not even one person.
Probably one or two, but there's no reason to put that out in the universe, man.
Yeah, we don't want that.
Like
right?
we said,
don't want-
the door was just closed.
and here I am, just kind of
That's what I'm
messing
saying.
with the doorknob.
That's what I'm saying.
Do a little.
Got your lunch plans yet? PF Chang's is out there for you. Lunch or dinner. They're fantastic either way. PF Chang's has got you covered with a slew of new menu items. I went with the sesame beef last time around. When you could do crunchy beef the right way, it is a special experience, and I absolutely adored it. My wife went with sesame chicken. I went with sesame beef. We swung by PF Chang's last week to take advantage of the full, the ambiance, the service, just stepping out for a night. It is a family-friendly atmosphere. It's upscale Chinese or upscale Asian, to be sure, but you're not losing that family-friendly atmosphere at the same time. The service is beyond compare. The food was just top-notch. And you want to check out the new menu items, check out pfchangs.com. Or if you just want to go by and sample, they are off of Corporate Boulevard in Town Center. Look for the giant golden horse.
Working as a dedicated Fidelity advisor, I always ask, what's important to you? I'll look at those priorities and goals alongside your full financial picture to build a comprehensive plan designed to help grow and protect your wealth. With proactive portfolio insights and an eye on taxes, I'm here to help you make the most of your money. I'm Laura Maxwell, and I'm a dedicated Fidelity advisor. Learn more at fidelity.com/wealth. Investment minimums apply. Fidelity Brokerage Services, LLC, member NYSE SIPC.
Workdays can be unpredictable, but your workwear shouldn't be. With a Cintas Apparel Plus program, you'll have freshly laundered garments for everyone on your team delivered every week. Cintas has workwear for just about any job imaginable, with high-performance fabrics and an
Sorry.
South Carolina just had an execution by firing squad.
Would it be anywhere else? The 10th was. Why am I seeing it?
Was the 10th a Monday?
It was. Oh,
Let's back up to the whole
no, no, no,
February.
I got it. It's on the 7th though. I wonder why.
That would have been the Friday before when I recorded it.
That's why. Okay, no problem. Got it though. We got it.
hate this shit.
What's that?
Are we at Medical Monday, y'all? So
It's time for your weekly checkup. This is Medical Monday, presented by Our Lady of the Lake Health.
I got to talk to whoever schedules these things because it's Valentine's week and we're talking about the heart. Can't imagine that was a coincidence. We're actually talking pulmonary hypertension today. I want to welcome Dr. David Moll from Our Lady of the Lake. Welcome aboard. How are you?
Good morning, Brian. I'm doing very well. Thank you very much. How are you doing?
Doing very well as well. Glad to have you on here this morning. Glad to be talking about this because honestly, this is probably one that isn't talked about enough. And if you've seen it up close and personal in your own life, within your own family, it definitely changes the game. So thank you for hopping on board. Let's start with the most basic of questions for those who don't know. What is pulmonary hypertension and what are its symptoms?
Pulmonary hypertension, very much like just regular hypertension. I believe pretty much everybody we know is familiar with it to some degree. They have a family member, a loved one, a friend who has high blood pressure. It's checked with a blood pressure cuff on your arm. We've all done it countless times, either in our home or in the doctor's office. And that represents the pressure that is felt from the left side of the heart. There's actually two sides of the heart, not to try and be too crazy about it, but the fact is there's a right side. Not very many people talk about it or have that much of experience with it. The unfortunate fact is there's no way to check the blood pressure for the right side like you would traditionally do like the left side. And there are a number of different causes that can lead to elevated pressures on the right side, and that is called pulmonary hypertension. The common symptoms that you would see, most likely shortness of breath is going to be the most common one. The unfortunate fact is that a lot of things can cause shortness of breath.
Right.
You could have lung disease, you can have heart disease, or honestly, there's a slew of other things that cause shortness of breath. And unfortunately, that generally leads to a delay in the diagnosis for many of our patients.
Is that because we just don't see it, or is it because we want to write it off as something else?
That's a great question. The honest answer is it's a bit of both. If I could take us back in time a little bit, it might help us to understand. If you remember the magic school bus, we'll pretend we're a blood cell in the bloodstream of the body. We start in the left ventricle. That's the left side of the heart. It's the main pumping chamber. It pumps out through the aortic valve. Then it gets blood flow to the upper extremities, to the brain. Then it goes down to the abdominal organs. Then it's down to the legs and the muscles that are there. That blood then comes back to the right side of the heart, and it acts like a sump pump. And it pushes the blood flow through the lungs, giving it oxygen back that the rest of the body had taken out of it. And it's a beautifully orchestrated system. As you can imagine, most people's heartbeats are 80 times a minute, and it does this over and over and over again throughout your entire life. So it's just impressive on that scale. But if you can imagine, if something would cause the blood flow to back up from the left side to the right side, or get plugged up or slow it down through the lungs, the right side of the heart is going to feel extra pressure. And that's the challenge we have with pulmonary hypertension. You asked again, why is it somewhat delayed? There are many things that can cause people to be short of breath. A common cold that can linger, regular left-sided heart disease. More commonly, we have a number of people still that have pulmonary diseases for any number of reasons. And the fact is, there is a little bit of a delay because of all of that. I hope I explained that reasonably enough.
No, very well done. Absolutely. And yeah, because the fact that there are so many different, like, I can go to the gym and I can work out for an hour and be fine. And then on the flip side, I could take one flight of stairs and be out of breath for the next 10 minutes. Like, it's weird how it could be something that simple could stem from so many, millions of different things. We're talking with David. Go ahead.
No, you're right. I must admit, I'm in my mid-40s now. I feel more winded doing the normal things that I used to could.
Yeah.
And I'm sure we all experience that. I have a number of patients who I see on a daily basis to complain about that. And one of the conundrums we have is, should we test them for a lot of things and do the $1 million workup, if you want to call it that?
Right.
Or should we say, go out, do a little bit extra walking and exercising, and then see if it gets better. And then we need to do some further testing. It can really be a challenge at times to differentiate it.
We're talking with Dr. David Moll from Our Lady of the Lake about pulmonary hypertension. And you're kind of walking us up to the next question here, and that is, who is most at risk?
So if I could, there's one group of patients that we are most concerned about. It's not to say that we don't care about the others, but group one, or primary pulmonary arterial hypertension, is a group of patients that we highlight specifically, that we look for the most, because we have a group of special medicines that we can offer them. The architecture of the lungs changes, and their vessels become tightened down. And as we talked about before, if you tighten down on the vessels in the lungs, it makes the right side of the heart pump harder. But there are a number of other mimickers or other secondary diseases that do similar things, but they don't respond to the special medicines that I just mentioned. The most common group of people that get pulmonary hypertension, but not primary pulmonary hypertension, are patients who have heart disease, a stiffening of their heart over time, usually with age, sometimes after a heart attack, or valvular disease, a leaky valve, and that pressure backs up to the right side. And so you spend most of your time there trying to get the pressure down on the front end and not have as much back pressure. Or patients, for example, who have chronic lung diseases, who have low oxygen levels. Maybe we know somebody who's got emphysema, really bad sleep apnea. Those can cause the lungs to tighten down and vasoconstrict, and that also has a back pressure. And so when we say who's most likely to have it, the honest answer is people who have heart disease backing up are the ones that have it the most. The next biggest group would be patients treated for pulmonary diseases. And then there's that select group of patients that have a very special group called pulmonary arterial hypertension. And those are the patients that we're trying to look for, because that's a group that would benefit from some very specific medications. And there are oral medicines now, where 10 to 15 years ago, all we had were cumbersome IV medications. And the field has truly grown really quite remarkably in the last 10 years to now having a multitude of medicines. And just like many people now are on multiple blood pressure medicines, we now are able to give patients multiple pulmonary arterial hypertension drugs to prolong their life, improve their quality of life, and decrease symptoms.
Keep along with that, though, because talking about the different medicines, is that, just tell me what treatment looks like when it comes to that, to administering that.
Yeah, unfortunately, these medicines, though we can prescribe them, they're not just on the shelf at your local pharmacy. They have to go to specialty pharmacies. Often these different medications, we have to track certain blood tests to make sure they're not having adverse reactions to them. But the honest answer is, when I was in my training some 10 to 15 years ago, we truly only had maybe 2 or 3 options, and that was mostly based on IV medicines. Patients had to have an inline pump that they had to carry around all the time with them, 24 hours a day. Now we have 3 to 4 different pathways of medicines that we can use to lower pressures just by taking an oral medicine. Most of them are 1 to 2 times a day. On occasion, we also have some inhalers that you have to take probably 4 to 5 times a day to get the best results. So as you can imagine, that truly does improve someone's quality of life, not having to have a small pump with an IV that's constantly attached to them.
Well, 100%. It's a complete difference when you don't have that attachment. That being said, when it comes to pulmonary hypertension, how does it affect everyday life? And I don't want to ask how serious it is, because we know it's very, very deadly. But how long can someone continue? How sustainable is it to walk around with hypertension? Pulmonary hypertension.
The challenge is, it depends on which one of those that the patient has.
Right.
If they have one of the secondary versions, for example, a more reversible cause, if I can fix a valve that was leaky, boy, that really improves their quality of life and almost gets rid of the back pressure entirely. If someone has really bad sleep apnea and they can use a CPAP machine, all of a sudden now they're not getting hypoxic at night, meaning their oxygen levels are dropping to a critical level. And in a sense, they're just in a stress state throughout their entire sleep pattern, when really that should be our time to relax the most.
Right.
Those would be the easy ones to say that if you have a reversible means, man, that really does help improve them. Sometimes we use diuretic medicines where we just get fluid off of them, and just getting some fluid out of the tank helps them feel a whole lot better as well, less to back up. Some patients just have advanced lung disease and they just need to be on oxygen 24 hours a day.
Okay.
And that gives them some significant relief as well. The group with pulmonary arterial hypertension, unfortunately, that group does have a much more guarded diagnosis and prognosis. Unfortunately, their average lifespan is somewhere between probably 4 to 10 years once they're diagnosed. If we catch them earlier, though, we feel strongly that we can help prolong a higher quality of life and better means to get around and do their normal daily activities. Also, we do have the ability, perhaps not in the Baton Rouge area, but we can refer them to transplant centers and try and have them improve that as well, because hopefully the earlier we can get them to that kind of a center, the better off or the higher the chances they can get a transplant.
Incredible stuff. I mean, it really, when you think about the variations that y'all have to deal with and the number of different variables within this one equation, it just to get to the root of the matter and hopefully get something, if it is reversible, get it moving in reverse. It's just it's pretty baffling. Let's talk about somebody who might have some symptoms, whether it be shortness of breath or if there's other symptoms out there. How should they go about getting proper care?
Yeah. As we talked about before, shortness of breath or feeling winded or fatigued earlier than usual that you would expect, I would always suggest somebody to talk, starting at least easily with their primary care physician.
Mm-hmm.
Some people have a pulmonologist, and some people may have a cardiologist, a lung and a heart doctor. And those would be the kinds of people that truly are the ones that are diagnosing this most commonly. I will tell you that I feel so blessed. We've started our own program here in the Baton Rouge area. It's our pulmonary hypertension clinic at Our Lady of the Lake. I feel lucky that I have two pulmonary partners. I'm a cardiologist, and I have two pulmonary partners that I work in this clinic with. And the beauty of this is that because this diagnosis is challenging, often patients will jump between a pulmonologist to a cardiologist. It takes a while in between those. But in our clinic, you can see both of those specialties on the same day. We're able to do, I would venture to say, 95% of all of our testing we need right then and there on that day as well. And for a number of our patients who travel from out of the city or further in the outlying areas, well, that's a big time saver for them. Being able to do same day testing as well as seeing two different subspecialists at the same time. You can imagine, as we talked about already, we're able to rule out heart disease or rule out lung disease, and then we can immediately start treatment. And I feel really blessed to be a part of this. Honestly, most of the time you only see centers like this in large academic centers, and we feel really, we really feel blessed to have that. I'm Dr. Stephen Briere and Dr. Matthew Berlinger, who are part of the LSU pulmonary team here in the city of Baton Rouge, are my co-pilots in this. And I tell you, we're enjoying doing this, and I feel like we're helping the quality of life for a lot of our patients.
Oh, absolutely. To have a resource in our backyard. I don't know if we in Baton Rouge realize what kind of resources Our Lady of the Lake provides on different levels. This would be one where we're lucky to be where we're at. He is Dr. David Moll with Our Lady of the Lake, is cardiologist with Our Lady of the Lake. We've been talking pulmonary hypertension. Doc, where can folks go if they want to learn more about this?
There are a number of different resources from the National Pulmonary Hypertension Association, but if you would like to have a more detailed, if you really want to be able to see one of us, you're welcome to call us in one of our offices and we can get an appointment scheduled. I wish I could point you towards one of a website or something like that at this time, but we are in the process of trying to build an easier way for patients to find us more directly. But you can reach me at Louisiana Cardiology Associates, and you can find our contact online, or reach out to my pulmonary colleagues in the LSU Pulmonary Clinic that they have as well, and they'll be able to direct you to the Pulmonary Hypertension Clinic, which is separate than our individual clinics themselves. Currently, we're seeing patients once a month, and we're in the process of expanding it to 2 days a month.
He is Dr. David Moll. This has been Medical Monday right here on Talk 107.3 FM, of course, presented by the folks at Our Lady of the Lake. Thank you, Dr. Moll.
Thank you, sir.
Just a reminder, Medical Monday is pre-recorded content, so that conversation actually took place earlier. Well, I guess it was last month. We got a break for news, traffic, weather. We already missed ABC News, so let's catch our local news. When we come back, Will Green from LABI joins us next. I wish this told you what the vote looked like as it was going along. Cool start to the morning, but it looks like we're going to trend a little warmer. Here with your full forecast is WBRZ meteorologist Balin Rogers. Whoop. I was watching videos while we were doing Medical Monday. All right, there we go. I know it's a serious topic, but I can't help but wonder what draws people on constant oxygen to casinos. Oh, the people with the tanks? Yeah. .737 Talk 107.3 FM WBRP mornings with Brian Haldane rolling right along. All right, time for us to start talking workforce. We had a jobs topic in the last hour talking about the paper mill up in Northwest Louisiana, but that is one microcosm in a huge or an overall picture when it comes to our workforce. And joining us now from LABI is Will Green. Will, welcome back, man. How are you?
Good morning, Brian. I'm doing well. How are you?
Doing very well as well. I want to talk workforce. I want to talk full throttle. We're going to get into all of it in just a little bit, but can we start before we move forward? I know we got like a month and 3 days until the legislative session. So can we kind of roll back the clock just to put a button on the wins of 2024?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, look, I know we've talked a little bit going into this year, but obviously what a difference a year makes, right? I mean, we were, as I was on the show last year, we talked a lot about, being in the 40s in our tax ranking, being in the 40s in our education ranking, our not attracting growth and investment at the rate and speed that our other surrounding states were, just the challenges without migration and population and boy, you flash forward to this year and you see that a lot of the tax measures that were passed in the special session are now the tax foundation's predicting we're going to be ranked in the 20s for our tax climate. And then you look at education and you see the massive jumps we've made in reading and math in our education, and now I think we're somewhere in the 30s. And then you look at projects like Meta coming to Louisiana and the jobs and the growth that that's going to create. I mean, we've just made massive jumps in so many different areas, realigning the LWC and the economic development agencies to really move at the speed of business. And so look, just so exciting right now to be a part of a lot of the change, but we got to put our keep our foot on the gas and keep going, because other states have taken notice and they're not sitting idle.
No, and that's the problem there, right? You can't just move at your own pace. You got to move with the pace of or ahead of the pace of everyone else. So let's talk about that a little bit. Let's talk about building the workforce of tomorrow. The motto this year from LABI is full throttle. What does that mean in real terms?
Yeah, so I mean, look, we got to like we said, right? I mean, we're doing a lot of things. We're making we're pushing forward. We're attracting talent and jobs, and I think industry and business is taking notice, right? But speaking of the workforce, I mean, we can bring the metas here and all these data projects and manufacturing, but if we don't have the jobs and the workforce here to meet their needs and their demands, we're not going to be able to keep them here, and we're not going to fill those roles, right? And so our current labor force participation rate stands at about 58%, which is below the national average. And just to kind of put that into a number, to close that gap, the state needs an additional 145,000 people to add to its labor force. And so one of our big priorities as the state chamber and the state manufacturing association is to try to expand access to high quality jobs and needs-based jobs and and to try to grow and expand on our labor force through things like early childhood education, career readiness and reentry, workforce development, create these workforce development solutions.
How do we implement the workforce development solutions? Well, we're talking with Will Green from LABI, because let me re-ask this question. Is there a gap between workforce development in the major metropolitan areas around Louisiana versus rural Louisiana?
Well, I think the challenges are a little bit different, right? Obviously the challenges of a Union Parish are a little bit different than the challenges of East Baton Rouge Parish, right? You kind of, Louisiana is such a unique state in that North Louisiana is a lot different from South Louisiana. And so as I travel to, New Orleans, the needs and the industries there of New Orleans are a little bit different from when I travel up to the Ruston, Chamber of Commerce, the Ruston Lincoln Chamber of Commerce, right? And so I think that policy and programming can be similar for each. I think a job's a job, right? But also I think we've got to focus more on how do we get more people working? How do we focus on needs-based jobs? What are the industries of the future? How do we partner with our 2-year and 4-year universities to connect the dots on industry and education so that we are, producing the workforce of the future?
Yeah, when you mentioned the university part of it, it kind of took it to a different level. I was thinking more along the lines of like, okay, so you get that Meta data center, right? And it's east of Monroe. Do we look at that as more rural because of where it is, or because it's connected to Monroe or so close to Monroe? That's a win for Monroe. Like, are we looking at these separately?
Well, I think I definitely, obviously it's a huge win for that area.
Yeah.
It's a massive win for that area, right? It's a huge win for the state as a whole, just because of the tax dollars and the investment for the state that it's going to bring in, but certainly for that region, for that area. As if you bring in a project of that size, you're gonna, it's going to have a trickle down effect of contractors and subcontractors, and then they're going to need the jobs you bring in. They need housing, and then housing brings grocery stores, and then they buy cars, and so it's just it has such a effect on the economy in that area that's great, right? Especially in a more rural area. When a Meta comes in, that's such a good partner locally. They invest in schools and baseball fields, and so it's just such a shot in the arm, especially to a rural area, maybe a little more so than it would be to a big metropolitan area.
We got Will Green, President, CEO of the Louisiana Association of Business and Industry, joins us every Monday at about this time. I want to go back to that labor force participation rate, because I know you've mentioned that number before, but every time I hear it, it's so stark. 58.6%. And that feels so unbelievably low. But at the same time, though, it's only 4% behind the national average. And you mentioned, what was it? You said about 150,000 jobs would bridge that gap. How do we go about filling that? Well, it's not the jobs part of the problem; it's the workforce part of the problem, right there, right? Is that a tougher gap to bridge?
So, one of the things that we within that number, if you heard Susie Schoen speak the other day, the Louisiana Workforce Commission secretary, and she said that if you really drill down into that number, and this is one of the reasons we've made early childhood education a priority at Lobby and making the business case for early childhood investment. When you drill down into that number, a lot of really within that percentage, a lot of that is mothers, is women. And when you ask, why are you not participating in the workforce? A lot of times it's because, number one, they don't have access to childcare, or they don't have access to affordable childcare. And then when you drill down a little bit further, and this was a study that was conducted in 2017, found that 1 in 7 Louisiana residents with a child aged 4 or under turned down a promotion at work due to childcare issues. 1 in 6 were forced to quit a job, and 1 in 13 were fired because of childcare issues. And so imagine within that just non-participating labor force, and then you couple that with the statistics I just quoted to you from that study, imagine if how many of those qualified workers had access to either affordable or available childcare we could put back into the workforce. I mean, that's just to me just makes so much sense. And so it is a business case. We need to educate businesses better on how important providing incentives for childcare, providing childcare on their site, expanding access to credits and incentives at the state level, how important all that is to expand our workforce.
Is this what's the better approach to get across the finish line or to get to move in the early childhood education front? Is it better to approach it from the workforce perspective or the educational benefits for the child perspective? Because I feel like this is it's a win-win, right?
Yeah, no, I think both. I think, look, you've heard the studies. I mean, how brain develops before the age of 5, and how much having access to quality child care jumpstarts a child into kindergarten, and how important that is for children to have pre-K 3, pre-K 4. How important that is for development for a child going into school. And so that is massive. That's important. And then the fact that for the workforce element, so it's the education element. For the workforce element, how important it is for working parents to have access to reliable, affordable, available childcare so that they can go to work, so that they're not absent, so that they're not missing, so that they don't have to turn down the promotion, so that the parents don't have to figure out, so I don't have a conversation with my wife about, okay, do you work? Do I work? Does one of us stay home with the kids? Philip May did a great op-ed from Entergy I saw in the paper about how important early childhood is to their workforce, and how they focus on it at Entergy. And I thought that was great. I mean, they're making the case there for early childhood investment, and how important it is to their workforce. And so it's just not something that I think as the business community is oftentimes top of mind on how important that is. And so we want to highlight it as much as we can.
No, absolutely. Absolutely. We're going to talk a lot more workforce development. We're going to talk tax reform. We're going to talk insurance in the coming weeks as we count it down to the legislative session. In the meanwhile, we love having you on every week to provide a little insight. He is Will Green, President and CEO of Louisiana Association of Business and Industry. We'll talk to you next week. Thank you, Will.
Thanks, Brian.
Always. We got 750. Here's your money now. What? Okay, this is why I'm not to be taking places. What did I just do? Did I break the table?
I don't know. I heard something.
Something
Did
dropped.
it fall? It was your end, right?
Yeah, I don't know what fell.
Oh.
I'm working on a restaurant called Veracruz, and it's like coastal Mexican. So a lot of like fresh seafood, ceviche type, William with Veracruz said he would be interested in Foodie Friday segment. He wants to get you in there to eat and meet you. Eat, and meet you would be I get to eat and he gets to meet me. But he wants to eat me and meet me.
Oof. That's why the Oxford comma is necessary, right?
Oh, and the Oxford comma is technically for a list.
But still.
This is just a comma.
Just a comma.
Just a comma.
Commas are important.
Commas are important. I don't know what fell. There's nothing on the floor.
So you're going for the eat and meat?
He wants to eat me and meet me.
Eat you. Something definitely fell.
Something fell. I fucking heard it. But there's nothing down there.
Weird.
Oh, man. Tell you how much is about to come down for this week on the citywide level. I put a call into the governor's office to get him on this week. Canceled the call.
Oh,
I don't. Jeff is a little bit random when he pops in, and I'm like, let's hold off until I have room to cancel somebody else.
Yeah.
But there's conversations that have to be had, and I don't want to have to bump a council person for the governor because that's how much shit's about to go down. Every day of the week, of course, you're going to bump a council person for the governor, right?
Yeah.
Not this week. Oh, not this week. Won't be till Wednesday, but it's about to go down. Oh, just a heads up tomorrow. You want to prep some bumper music?
Yeah.
311.
311. Okay.
Today is 310.
Yep.
I don't know why I have a headache like creeping in on me right now.
Oh no, man.
Seven, 8, 9 here. $7:56 Talk 107.3 FM WBRP mornings with Brian Haldane rolling right along. We got ABC News coming your way about 4 minutes from right now. Hour 3 is going to bring you Moon Griffon. He'll be up at 8:15. We talk about everything under the sun with Moon, and also next hour. Looking forward to this conversation. We're going to have Janet Simmons and David Tidwell in talk about the Skilled BR Business and Industry Luncheon that's coming up. A lot more on that next hour. Before we get you to our next news item, I do need to remind you about the folks over at Vex European. Oh, man, I had a fantastic conversation yesterday with a listener who was actually just thanking me for introducing them to Vex. They drive a Land Rover, and it's a bit dated of a Land Rover, but they were looking for some help Land Rover specific. And he said, Brian, you say all the time that you're going to find a technician that's matched with your make of vehicle. They got 4 of them over there. I was like, for Land Rover? Yeah. Could not have been more fired up. So hit up vexeuropean.com. And by the way, it's working out for him as well. So another satisfied customer for Vinny and his crew, specifically on the Land Rover side. Over at Vex European. Hit up vexeuropean.com. Hit that drop-down tab on the makes of vehicle. See if you see your make of vehicle on there. Get yourself a master-level technician that will take care of your vehicle. Same way your doctor carries around your chart, that's what they're going to do with your make of vehicle over at Vex. You'll find them in real life on Benefit Drive. That's the backside of Industrialplex. But start online at vexeuropean.com. So early voting starts this Saturday in the state's constitutional amendment election. Obviously, there's other things on the ballot as well, but statewide, there are 4 constitutional amendments, including Amendment 2, which basically rewrites Article 7 of the state constitution. You heard from our news partners at Louisiana Radio Network. They spoke with Revenue Secretary Richard Nelson, who says this will codify some changes in tax laws that the legislature passed in the special session last November.
It lowers the maximum rate of income tax. Right now it's 4.75. It lowers that to 3.75%. It actually doubles the standard deduction for senior citizens. So if you're a senior citizen, the first $25,000 will be tax-free that you make every year.
A big part of this, though, that I don't think has been talked about enough is making the pay raise for teachers permanent, a pay raise of at least $2,000 a year.
It does it by making about a $2 billion payment to pay off a significant amount of our retirement debt that the state and the taxpayers are on the hook for, pays down about $2 billion of that, and then uses the savings and interest in order to give the teachers a permanent pay raise.
So if we want to see further progress on amending and, making our taxes a lot more amenable, I should say, as we talked about with Will Green in the last segment, Amendment 2 passing is kind of the necessary next step.
We kind of stick with the same Louisiana we've had for the last 50 years, which has not been particularly successful in attracting residents and businesses and funding the essential functions of government.
Look, there's been no bigger proponent to revamping our tax structure in Louisiana and rewriting the Constitution than Richard Nelson. And I know he wants a bigger chunk bitten out of the apple, but if he's on board with starting it this way, then I tend to lean towards him. Hour 3's next. What? Oh, I wouldn't listen. Ugh. Ugh. Okay. Oh, shoot. What you want to talk about with Moon? Oh, sorry. .806 Talk 107.3 FM WBRP. Mornings with Brian Haldane rolling right along. Hour 3 coming your way right now. Brian here with you. John LaBeouf producing. We move into our third hour, ticking up slightly. No, we didn't go up. We're still at 49 degrees in downtown Baton Rouge, on our way to 71 before it's all said and done. Coming up this hour, Moon Griffon joins us in our next segment. Always looking forward to that conversation. And we're going to talk with Janet Simmons and David Tidwell at 8:40 or 8:35. Right now, though, we start off the third hour with This Day in History. Let's roll. All right, John, let's get after it.
All right. 1862, the U.S. issues first paper money in the form of $5, $10, $20, $50, $100, $500, and $1,000 notes.
Did they skip the one?
They did, apparently. Yeah.
Okay.
Before then, it was just, I guess,
yeah,
kind of changed.
That's a $500 bill.
Yep. $1,000 too. That's wild, right?
I know.
Man.
That's walking around with one of those in your pocket.
Right.
I mean, they don't make them anymore, but that'd be great.
Oh yeah. Hate to drop it though, right?
Yeah.
Ooh,
couldn't.
1864, Red River Campaign begun in Louisiana by Union forces.
You know, I don't know a whole lot of Civil War history.
Yeah.
But if I'm not mistaken, this was either the last or second to last major victory by Confederate forces. General Taylor, was it? Richard Taylor? I don't know.
Maybe.
Possibly. You can make me look this up.
No.
It's fine. I got it right here.
Found it quick.
March 10th to May 22nd, 1864, in the American Civil War, unsuccessful Union effort to seize control of the important cotton-growing states of Louisiana, Arkansas, and Texas. In the spring of 1864, Union General Nathaniel Banks led an expedition up the Red River, and with the support of a river fleet commanded by David Dixon Porter, took Fort DeRussy and the town of Alexandria. However, Confederate troops under General Richard Taylor confronted the Union forces at Sabine Crossroads near Mansfield and defeated them on April 8th. Nailed it.
Yeah.
Nailed it.
There we go.
I got one right. Yeah, I need to bone up on Civil War history. I don't know enough.
Right.
I don't know.
I think we all do. I think it's one of those, that era. Just people don't really give enough time and attention.
Well, we decided to convert to paper money in the Civil War.
Right.
Why not?
Yeah. 1876, the first telephone call, and Alexander Graham Bell says, "Mr. Watson, come here. I want to see you," to his assistant, Thomas Watson.
Do you know what Watson said back?
What?
New phone. Who dis? Boom.
Oh, man. 1902, a United States Court of Appeals rules that Thomas Edison did not invent the movie camera. So,
did it say who did?
It didn't.
Okay, moving on.
Yep. Hey, we were talking about earthquakes earlier this morning. 1933, a major earthquake in Long Beach, California, kills 120 and destroys 70 school buildings. It's insane, right?
Very much
about
so.
this. Like,
also on this day in 1933, the cow. On this day in 1933, the first concentration camp opened up for the Nazis.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Wow. Man, and speaking of war, 1945, deadliest air raid of World War II sets Tokyo on fire after nighttime B-29 bombings. More than 100,000 people die, mostly civilians.
It wouldn't be the deadliest for a while, though, right?
Yeah.
I mean, there would be, Fat Boy and Fat Man and Little Boy?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I have those names wrong. Go ahead. Continuing.
Music news here. 1964, Simon and Garfunkel record the first version of The Sound of Silence at Columbia Studios in New York City.
Very cool stuff.
1969, James Earl Ray pleads guilty to the murder of Martin Luther King Jr.
Saw that one.
Yes.
Sentenced to 99 years in prison for it.
Yep.
1971,
U.S. Senate approves amendment lowering voting age to 18.
Okay.
1978 here, entertainment news, The Incredible Hulk, starring Bill Bixby as David Banner, and of course Lou Ferrigno as the Hulk, premieres on CBS.
All right.
Let's see. 1982, the United States places an embargo on Libyan petroleum imports because of their support of terrorist groups.
Okay. Keep going.
Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
1997.
Today.
This day in 1997. The Buffy premiered today. Buffy was labeled as, quote, an alternative feminist icon. Hey, roll it back to 1995, though. This day in 1995, Michael Jordan announced, "I'm hanging up the baseball cleats, going back to the Bulls."
All right. Good choice, right?
Yeah, that was right.
Good choice. Anything else on this day?
No, let's hit birthdays real quick.
Top of this list here, Chuck Norris.
Ooh, yeah.
Top of this list. Also singer Carrie Underwood.
Yep.
And actor John Hamm. Sharon Stone as well today. Olivia Wilde.
Okay.
Anybody else on your end?
Well, you mentioned James Earl Ray pleading guilty. It was also his birthday.
What?
Yeah. Born on March 10th, 1928.
Wow.
Yeah, I know. Put those two together, huh?
Gosh.
Yeah. Got a couple more birthdays for you. How about Timbaland?
So I'm looking at
born
here.
on this day in 1971. Prince Edward was born on this day in 1964. And in the world of sports, we had Chargers quarterback Justin Herbert. It's his birthday as well.
Yeah, nice. Let's see. Moving on to deaths here. At the top of this list, and Harriet Tubman.
Yep.
That's as far as notable deaths here. Did you have any on your side?
No, that was literally the only one that I had.
Yeah. Sounds
So,
good. As
national
far as
days?
National Napping Day.
I'm here for
It's
it.
Monday, right?
Yeah,
We're all kind of.
I'm heavy on the yawns during the breaks there, man. I'm here for it for sure.
Absolutely.
All right. We are coming up on, it's at 8:12 at Talk 107.3 FM, about to be 8:13. Before we take our break, got to remind you about the folks over. Oh, don't forget, this day in history is always brought to you by the folks over at 5 Star Printing and Signs. You can call Danny and his team at 271-4096. Now, before we take that break, let me remind you about the folks over at the Baton Rouge Metro Airport. FlyBTR.com is the website right there. Oh, man, you can't compare to the convenience of flying out of the Baton Rouge Airport. And my daughter came home on Friday or Saturday night. She had an international flight, so she was coming back to New Orleans. It's just a steady reminder of how much more convenient it is to be in your own backyard. An unbelievable reminder that you don't have to worry about that hour-long drive. You don't have to worry about dealing with TSA the way that they have it down there. It's so much more convenient here in Baton Rouge. It's so much more pleasurable, the experience at the Baton Rouge Metro Airport. And look, it's doing business in our own backyard. It's making sure you're taking care of your own business community. And like, let's say you have business in Washington, D.C., they've got a direct flight for you there. Check it out at flybtr.com. Flybtr.com.
Okay. Get ready for Moon.
Yep.
Michelle Trachtenberg, that's who it was, who had recently passed away. She was on Buffy.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't know. Remember who she played? Dawn Summers. That's who she played. Yeah, she played Dawn. Hey, good morning, Moon. This is John with Brian Haldane. I'm doing all right, sir. How about yourself?
Does he have anything he wants?
Hey, that's it. That's it. I'm sorry, Brian. What's that?
Does he have anything that he wants to talk about for sure?
Is there anything specific you want to speak about? Amendment 2?
Yep, that's me. All right.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Yeah, we can roll with that.
Oh,
sounds good, sir. Oh yeah. Thank you, sir.
Debbie says, can you imagine giving a $500 bill? They have a hard time with it too.
Oof.
I know.
Yeah.
I tried to use it too once and they thought it was fake. Currently reading a Time Life collection on the Civil War. It's insane how brutal it was and how incompetent some officers were. Oh, I can imagine.
Oh, yeah.
We have zero connection to it these days.
No.
Our wars are televised now. I don't think so. (8:18) Talk 107.3 FM WBRP. Mornings with Brian Haldane, rolling right along. Every Monday we get to get caught up with our good buddy Moon Griffon. He's the host here and statewide from 9 to 11 a.m. Moon, how are you, brother?
Hey, Brian, doing fine, man. Good to hear from you, man. I'll tell you what, Brian, it's a great time of year because we start getting the warm weather and college baseball cranks up, and then the excitement of the NCAA tournament is getting ready to crank up, and the SEC tournaments and all these. I mean, it's a fun time of year in sports, as far as I'm concerned, at least through most of April. And then after that, college baseball will take over. But Major League Baseball is back. So if you like NBA, I'm not a big NBA guy, but that's rocking and rolling. They'll start playoffs. So I love this time of year, man. It's awesome.
I have been a big NBA guy lately, and I'm just so dialed out this year. And I'm blaming LeBron James directly. I want nothing to do with the league until he's gone. He's a crybaby. Yeah, go ahead.
No, who's going to be the face of the league at that point? They always talk about that. I'm not into the face of the league because I came up in the Bird, Magic, Michael Jordan era, Karl Malone, John Stockton, Isaiah Thomas. We go on and talk about all these players.
Patrick Ewing, Reggie Miller,
I looked at it as a lot of faces of the league and a lot of good teams, and it just looked like it was more team-oriented. We got a lot of social media. Me and you talk about this all the time. So it looks like a little bit more selfish than it used to be. And the money's outrageous.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I've gotten away from the NBA, but I don't look at the face of the league, but they still, listen, I got to say this about LeBron. One of the greatest all time. The guy still plays at a high level at 40 years, 41 or whatever he is. But I know why people are burned out. He's been there forever, and it seems like that's all they ever talk about.
Well, it's not just that, Moon. It's the constant crying to the officials. It's the flopping. He's one that has not benefited from the social media era, because when he fakes like he gets hit, it shows up on social media. When he picks the ball up and travels for 8 steps, it shows up on social media.
Yeah.
When he jumps up and down and stomps his feet at a referee, it shows up on social media. And I'm just off it, man. He's not a good look for the league, and the whole playing GM to get his son in there didn't play well either. And I'm a Showtime Lakers guy for sure. Back from the late Magic Kareem. I'm a couple years younger than you, not much. I'm the back end of that Bird Magic era. The Celtics and Lakers going back and forth.
Yeah, but you were also on the front end of Kobe and Shaq. So they were really good then too.
Yes, and I was a big Kobe and Shaq.
It seems to be more of a team league. They didn't focus on the individuals as much.
Right.
And I think that made the difference. It was like the Lakers and the Celtics and the 76ers in Houston, and they had teams. Mm-hmm. You focus on the teams. And I never remember them saying, and they started this with Michael Jordan, Michael's team.
Right.
You didn't hear that with Bird and Magic. And it wasn't Bird's team and Magic's team. It was the Lakers and the Celtics. Now it's all about this guy's team. Well, it's a team sport, so it ain't about one guy.
But
that's one of the things that I'm watching every day.
Moon, that was the start of it, yes, but even with Michael Jordan's team, you knew the rest of the starting lineup had Scottie Pippen, Horace Grant, Bill Cartwright, and Craig Hodges. You knew Steve Kerr was coming in off the bench. You knew that, it's just, you knew the rest of the roster. I tell you what, when LeBron went to Miami, they had the big three there, right? But you couldn't tell me who number 4 was. Right?
No.
And then when LeBron went back to Cleveland with Kyrie, and I don't remember the white guy's name, Kevin Love. Yeah.
His name was Love.
Yeah, but I couldn't tell you who number 4 was there either. Once the players started putting their own super teams together, the drop-off after 3 guys was so significant that it didn't matter.
Yeah, they paid, and it's like that with pay. They pay 2 or 3 a lot, and everybody else, you don't even know who they are.
Right.
It's a different league, but the other thing I wanted to bring up today, Brian, was, okay, so Amendment 2.
Yeah, we got business to tend to.
Taxes. Huh?
We got business to tend to. I almost forgot.
Oh, no, I can talk sports with you all day.
No, we're good.
Next if you want to, but you got Amendment 2, and now all of a sudden we're getting close to the election. I think the election starts today, right? Early voting starts today?
Early voting starts Saturday, this coming Saturday.
Okay. So you got early. Somebody told me today, and that was odd to me, so that makes sense. Saturday to Saturday.
Right.
So I've been hearing all the positives. Now, all of a sudden, you got people coming out against it, and it's a lot to do with an amendment they're talking about dealing with churches. Okay? And they're talking about property taxes and stuff like that, income taxes, whatever, going to be removed. And I just received some information saying it's not true. But I know I got people that want to come talk against it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to have pros and cons. I got Brent Littlefield today. I got Richard Nelson coming. Julie Emerson's coming back. Woody Jenkins wants to come on against it. I heard Tony Perkins says it's a bad bill. So I want to find out what's going on because, I read these bills and look at them. It didn't look too bad to me. I don't know if it ever works like they say it's going to work. But I want to get both sides. So what we're going to focus on, and we'll do it today and the rest of the week, is start focusing on what the bill really does. And so I hope you do the same thing because I want to make sure. I got Philip Tarver. I'm in Lake Charles today at Dr. Snow's, but Philip Tarver, Representative Tarver from the area is going to come by, and I want to ask him what's the bill do and explain to us what's the good, what's the bad, because it looks like it's going to get heated up right before the voting starts.
Yeah, I don't know where this is coming from. I saw the article in The Advocate featuring Pastor Tony Spell from Life Tabernacle Church over in Central. He made a lot of headlines during COVID, Moon.
I remember.
And not all of them were the best, but moving forward, though, he's got issues with the bill as well on that same, is it property tax front, I think is what he's looking at.
Yeah. So, but I got the bill here, and I'm not going to read it on the air. And what I'm reading is it exempts all that.
Right.
I'm just telling you there's a part. I need to send it to you so you can have it. But it talks about the churches being exempt. Here it is right here. It moves all property tax exemptions, including nonprofit exemptions, above from the article in the statute retaining to current homestead exemption. All property tax exemption moved from the Constitution to statutes were recreated word for word through HB 112 from last November, the special session. So they're saying that here it is right here. The Constitution will include a newly created exemption specifically for religious organizations. The new fundamental religious organizations exemption is adopted, and we'll read as follows. And I'm not going to keep reading it to you, but anyway, it doesn't look like it's a big deal. But some people think it is. So I want to get both sides. I'm sure you do too. I want to see who's right and who's wrong because somebody's right and somebody's wrong. I don't think they're both right. You see what I'm saying? I don't think they're both right.
No, they can't be both right. Well, okay. One could be right and the other could still be worried, though. Because if you're moving something from being constitutionally protected over to state statute, that statute that allows for future legislators to take it on their own without having to go to a vote of the people. What Pastor Spell or what those in the religious community are concerned about here is having it just one step away from changing. As it stands right now, it has to go to a vote of the people to change. If you move it over to statute, now it's up to legislators who, by the way, would be committing political suicide.
But it looks like, Brian, if I'm reading it right, there's an exemption, and the same exemption that's done all over the country will still be applied to people in Louisiana. And that's the question I have.
Yes.
I get what you're saying. You move it from a constitution to a statute, they can go play with that.
Right.
I agree 100% with you. They can, and that's their concern, and I get that. I don't know if this really does everything, but I want to have both of them on. I know Woody Jenkins called to come on, and so I'm trying to get them all on and just ask them the question because maybe they're reading something I'm not reading.
Then where else would it be? Because I looked at the same law you did, or the same proposal you did. So I don't know where else it would be. I think it's about the level of protection that's built into it. That they look, Moon. You don't have any kind of real movement without some level of uncomfortable here. You don't.
No, but Brian,
and
let
you've
me
brought
tell you
this up
something.
yourself a lot.
I'm not taking up. I'm not taking up either side. I'm trying to do the same thing you're doing. I want to know everything we need to know about this so I can make an informed vote.
Yes.
That's it.
No, 100%.
So I got Brent Littlefield on today at about 10:30, and Brent's going to come and explain that side. I got Philip Tarver in here for a few minutes too. So I'm going to get to some of it. I got Julie Emerson, I think, who helped put a stamp on this bill.
She did.
Woody Jenkins asked to come on, who knows Mr. Spell pretty well. So I'm going to just try to get as much information as I can and let them make their points.
Awesome. It's all in the prep of getting us ready for March 15th and then eventually March 29th when Election Day rolls around. But this is, Moon, I have a feeling the way this is going to play out is that this is going to be one of those uncomfortable areas where everyone's got their own, I hate to use this terminology when talking about religion, but everyone's got their own sacred cow when it comes to where money's being spent or where money's being protected.
Sure.
And this would be that.
No, I think you're right on the money. I think it's just one of those things that people are trying to protect with what they got now. But that's not just churches. That's everybody.
Yeah.
But Trump came in with his Doge cut.
Yes, thank you.
And you've seen articles every day panicking over Medicaid and everything else because we're so sucked up to the federal government.
But look, everyone's in favor of Doge until it hits their department, right?
Yeah.
So
if they call you and me and say, hey, they got to cut some talk radio show hosts out, we're going to start with y'all, we're not going to like it.
Wait, who's left to cut?
Yeah, well, y'all, what about those guys over there?
Yeah.
We're going to start with y'all.
I'll tell you what, we'll go all Survivor on it, form an alliance, and we'll boot Carrera out. How about that? Don't tell him I said that because I got him on tomorrow.
It's all a battle, but I think it's been like that since time began.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. He's Moon Griffon. You catch him weekdays from 9 to 11 right here on Talk 107.3 and, of course, statewide. Moon, we always appreciate the time, brother. We'll talk to you soon.
All right, Brian. God bless. Thank you
too. Absolutely. Don't forget, Talk 107.3 FM is on demand at talk1073.com and courtesy of the Talk 107.3 app and on Facebook Live and on YouTube Live, and anything you missed is available on the website as well. All of that content is brought to you by the folks over at Lake Urgent Care. Lake Urgent Care, taking care of you with our on-demand content. Here's news. Woo! I got to move over to 2. I got like 17 texts during that segment. Why? Whoop! One's from Janet saying, what door do we enter? But she's in, so. I just can't shake it, man.
The first Monday after.
Single dad since Thursday. Wife got home at noon yesterday.
Oh man.
But what really knocked it out of me was that drive down to New Orleans on Saturday night. Picking up the daughter from her flight home from France at midnight.
Man.
Oh, you get back at 1:30 in the morning.
Ooh.
And then really that's 2:30 because you're rolling the clocks forward.
Yeah. Ooh.
All right. Mm-hmm. Hey, what you say? You all right? Do what? That originally was a safe when we were an insurance company. So then they turned it into a prize closet, a prize vault, and then they turned it into a studio for 104.5. And then, well, how are you? Doing all right. Y'all come on in. We got y'all next. And then when we launched, they moved 104.5 across the hallway for a little while. And then we eventually moved 104.5 upstairs into their video studio that they're in now. Yeah. Oh yeah, I loved it. It's.
I'd want to make that the door coming in.
If it were easier to, I mean, we're right here.
Just
So.
think how you can intimidate.
Which door? What are you talking about?
There's a vault door.
Oh.
How you can intimidate people. Slam it real hard.
Did they give you enough information last night?
What it says the skill y'all are here on behalf of, like
so
the
Skill BR is our initiative. It's Hope's initiative.
Hope's initiative.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And we have sold out, so it's not a ask for tickets. It's to tell about the event.
Yeah,
gotcha.
For information.
Liz Hampton registered.
Oh, good.
She sent me an email, said she went and bought a printer and thought it was more of a copier. Do y'all want it? And I responded, I haven't heard.
What'd you say? Yes.
Yes. She'll probably bring it
to the.
and
Tell her to bring
in.
it to Rotary. Tell her to bring it to Rotary.
No, because she will. In the middle of Rotary.
That'd be better than bringing it to the event.
I can see it at her table now.
Okay. 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Whoa.
So, Brian, how long are you on the air each day?
3 hours, 6 till 9.
David listens to NPR in the morning.
Really?
It's rare that I.
You'll have to change. You'll have to convince him to switch over to 107.
No, Brian's not on when I come to work in the morning. He's not on when I go home. Not unless you're
When do you go to work in the morning?
6 a.m.
That's
Well,
when,
he said
that's
six.
when I'm
That's when
on.
he
I'll
gets-
start at
he
6.
starts at 6.
6 to 9.
Yeah, he starts at 6.
Time to get a look at your forecast. So here's what we've got going on. Warming trend for the week. Your high today is supposed to get up to 71 degrees. Tomorrow, we're getting up to 75, looking like 78 by Wednesday, and we're in the 80s by Thursday. Now, looking ahead till to the upcoming weekend, what we saw last Saturday, we might see again, as we've got thunderstorms in the forecast for Saturday that will not fully reset the temps back to cool, but just knock them down just a little bit. Right now, oh, by the way, our overnight lows tonight, tomorrow night, and Wednesday night in the 50s. After that, our overnight lows will be in the 60s. Right now, we're cloudy, 54 in downtown Baton Rouge. (8:37) Talk 107.3 FM, WBRP. Mornings with Brian Haldane, rolling right along. Time to welcome in Janet Simmons and David Tidwell from Hope Ministries. How y'all doing this morning?
Good. Great.
Let's get you right up on the microphone so we can
Doing great.
Good deal. Y'all got an event coming up that Janet, when you told me about it, I was like, we got to get you on to talk about this. So
absolutely.
Let's actually start with Hope. Can you give us just a quick background of what y'all do and how it brought y'all around to what we're going to be talking about?
Great. So Hope Ministries has been around since the 80s on Winburn Avenue. We're the merger of two nonprofits. We've been there for, well more than 20 years, and we operate two main initiatives. One of them is Baton Rouge's first client choice food pantry, where our clients are able to shop for their groceries like a small grocery store. So a lot more dignified than just a box in a window. And then we offer our workforce training division called The Way to Work, and that's where we help individuals not only get a job, but keep the job.
And that brings us around to Skilled BR. I mean, that's where the connection is here. Tell me all about it.
So great. So the Wilson Foundation challenged us about 2 years ago to come up with an initiative that they would help us fund. And we determined that we really needed to work on our skilled workforce. Baton Rouge has been struggling for skilled workforce for a long, long time, even since the 90s. And for us to be able to provide good jobs, long-term sustainable employment for our community, we have to work together. And so the idea was, let's get everybody who is in the workforce place, including BRCC, the educators, LSU, all of the educators, Alliance Safety Council, ABC Pelican, all of the educators, all the people that do certifications, any service providers, any nonprofits that are in the workforce space, and employers. Bring us all together and let's start working together to help our community. You know that 55% of the people in our community are considered ALICE, which is asset limited, income constrained, employed. These are people that are working, but they're just not making sustainable income.
Right. And even then, we were talking with Will Green from LABI in our last hour. Even then, our workforce participation rate is only 58.2%.
Right.
That tells me that 41% is not even in the game.
Exactly. And so we're trying to mitigate that. So we're going to be introducing a new platform where everybody who is in the workforce place will have access to this platform where they can access the resources that they need. So for example, if I'm a recruiter with Turner Industries, I'm going to use Turner as an example because Stevie Toops is our keynote speaker.
My guy.
Yeah. So let's say a recruiter from Turner has a guy that comes in and introduces themselves and interviews for a position, but they don't have a TWIC card and they need a TWIC card. Let's say they go to Exxon to work as a Turner operator and they don't have a TWIC card. Well, they can't get the job because they don't have the TWIC card, but they also don't have the $125.25 that it takes to get the TWIC card.
Right.
So now the recruiter at Turner can say, oh, well, I know where you can get a TWIC card. You can go to Hope Ministries and they'll be glad to help you with that. And we can get you going and we can get you employed. So it's the whole process of this closing the gap where those gaps right now happen with the people that are looking for that long-term sustainable opportunity for employment and changing the trajectory of their lives by closing that gap. When we were talking to Stevie last week, a couple of weeks ago, he said that the people that drop out of school generally that are in this population drop out because of a $50 due of some kind that they cannot pay. And so if we can change that, if we can say, okay, we're going to take away that obstacle and we're going to help you solve that problem, then we're going to change the way it works for everybody.
How many of these, and I don't want to oversimplify it, but how many of these $50 problems are just bureaucratic BS? Y'all are here to help on a concierge level, on a one-to-one level for sure.
Right.
But how much of this should probably be kicked over to the legislature to say, what are we doing here?
Well, I mean, it could be bureaucratic, but it could be as simple as a flag on your driver's license. And if the flag is there and you can't drive legally, don't fool yourself. People are driving anyway.
Yeah.
But if you can't get that flag taken care of and it keeps adding and adding and adding and adding, you're never going to get that wrapped up. If you don't have a valid driver's license, you don't get the job.
Right.
So it could be as simple as that. It could be as simple as the $125.25 for a TWIC card. It could be the $50 for the needed steel toe boots. I mean, it could be as simple as that. And having people know where to go to get the assistance for those $50 items or $100 items so they can get the job and move from $10 an hour to $25 an hour.
Right.
That changes a family.
Moves them out of that Alice category that you that y'all were talking about just a minute ago. We got David Tidwell and Janet Simmons in from Hope Ministries talking about the upcoming Skilled BR Business and Industry Luncheon. So Stevie Toops is the keynote speaker. Who else
Correct.
do we need to be on the lookout for?
So Shane Furman is our MC. He's with Brown and Root. And then we've got panelists that are going to be talking about the workforce dilemma that we have here in Baton Rouge. And I think I gave you the list of the panelists. I hate to miss out
I'll run it down for you. You got
Okay.
David Beach coming in from the Wilson Foundation. Love him. Kathy, you know what? I don't know Kathy. Is she from this side of the Mississippi River or the other?
She's from this side, Alliance
So
Safety
Trahan.
Council.
So Kathy
Yeah.
Trahan.
Well, actually, she's
not
I
a
think she
Trahan.
grew up
See?
in Natchitoches. I'm not positive. I'm going to have to check on that. But
It's Trahan or Trahan, depending on where
It's
she grew
Trahan
up,
for
right?
her.
Okay.
Mhm.
All right. LeVar Robinson from Fathers on a Mission from Foam. He's fantastic, by the way. And then Ryan Alan from also from Brown and Root, just like the MC is. So what are they going to be talking about on the panel?
Go ahead, David.
So we don't want to just come together and have a nice meal and demonstrate the platform, but if we can begin a more detailed, in-depth conversation on what are the workplace and workforce challenges here in Baton Rouge, and the panel represents a wide variety of opinions and thoughts and service providers. So we want to start a conversation that's going to continue, identify some barriers, and then begin working on how do we mitigate those barriers to help people get around them to where they can get a job. So that's one of the main purposes, is to identify challenges and start finding solutions.
Okay, so and that kind of lends to what I was talking about how much of this is a bigger problem, where the problem can be eliminated as on a problem level and not on an individual level.
Well, and that's complex.
No, I
It's
know.
very complex.
I
So
know,
yeah,
but-
we can't solve that right here, right now. But like David said earlier about if somebody has a flag on their tag, if we could do something, get legislature to do something like this, where every year the library gives the forgiveness for books, right?
Yeah.
So if we could do something like that with flags on tags, because the people that have flags on their tags, they can't afford to pay for it.
And
It's going to be a
they're never going to.
there's going to be a deficit there forever. So why not wipe the slate clean once every 5 years? Something like that, where people can get started fresh. And same thing with expunging certain, felonies and or misdemeanors.
Yeah.
The same kind of thing. Why can't we do the same thing with flags on your tag?
And one thing that we see a lot of, and we see it every day, are individuals that may have a felony record from 25 years ago that cannot get a TWIC card because of that felony. And you can appeal, and it's very hard. That stops many, many people. Can that be looked at?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I would imagine it would depend on the felony, but at least
Right.
let's get the conversation rolling.
Right.
Exactly.
To start, kind of triaging it and say, this one over here is still a no-go, but
Right.
let's work on this one instead. If you can't solve X, you can solve Y.
Right.
Give me the when and where, and what I know you said it's already sold out, right?
Correct.
Which is awesome. But these are a lot of ideas that I think a lot of people would want to help take part in. Where can folks go if they want to learn more about that? And we're going to get back into some more details about the luncheon in a second, but where can folks go just on an overall basis if they say, I'm intrigued by this, I want to follow up?
So that they can go to Hope's website at hopebr.org, and there is a button there to learn more about Skilled BR. And the actual skilledbr.com website will go live on the 18th of March.
The buy-in from the business community sounds like it's been pretty solid.
It's been tremendous.
Give the business community a grade here. What are they looking at, and what do they still need to do?
A+. And the reason I say that is because you've got two competitors side by side working on this. You've got Brown and Root, and you've got Turner Industries. And the whole idea is let's all work together because this is our community as a whole.
Yeah.
And there are plenty of jobs out there, and there are plenty of people that need them, and there's plenty to go around. So rather than be fighting over competition and whatnot, let's work together to help our community and ultimately our state. Think about this. If we start building a workforce, and we have a great workforce, what's going to happen with Louisiana economic development? We're going to start bringing in companies that see, oh, they've got a great workforce. So now we want to come into Louisiana.
Oh, no, this is one of those steps on the success begets success. And it's not just, it's not just, so I look at things through a very personal level. If you've got somebody who's working $10 an hour, they're not in the market to buy a home.
Right.
But if you can move them to a better job, a more higher paying job, they can start achieving that American dream on their own.
That's exactly right.
That portion of the American dream that comes with that. And oh, by the way, you're putting that many more dollars back into the local economy.
We've seen that happen over and over with our clients where they'll go out and purchase a truck because they've never had the opportunity to do that before. But now they're making $35, $40 an hour and they can afford that. And so it is definitely great for our economy for us to take advantage of this and to buy into it.
Janet Simmons and David Tidwell from hopebr.org is the website. If you want to learn more, hopebr.org. This lunch is sold out, so I don't think we need to give the details on where it's at. But get involved for the future here because this is when you hear about the players that are involved and the direction they're headed in. I'm super happy y'all came by today. It's good stuff in the works. Thank y'all so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Absolutely. We're coming up on 8:50 at Talk 107.3 FM WBRP. That means we need to check your money now. We will check your money now. We will check traffic, and we will be back on the back end to close things out with the outside end right after that. One more reminder. Softball is making its way to Talk 107.3 FM. Starting this Friday, LSU, Beth Toreen and her Tigers are taking on Kentucky for a 3-game set in Tiger Park. LSU softball, just like LSU women's basketball, your home for it is right here on Talk 107.3 FM. Here's your money now. I almost caught a hiccup right in the middle of that. I'm gonna swallow that.
Thank you so much.
Thank y'all. It's good stuff. Stevie Toops.
Maybe we can follow up and come back.
Absolutely.
Are you at Mercy?
Yeah.
Okay.
My wife teaches. She's in the front office and teaches.
What's her first name?
Christy.
How long has she been in?
2 years.
Okay.
Oh, and she used to work in the church office.
So she's working. So Megan Jennings is the new vice principal.
Vice principal with the sixth graders.
No, the whole school. Not just sixth graders.
I thought it was at elementary.
Well, it was either early childhood or the big kid side.
Right.
Yeah.
The big kid
PK,
side. She's a
pre-K
big
through
she's a
2
big
or
kid
3
side.
through 8.
Yeah.
So
She got our board. Yeah.
In fact, we've got probably 75 Our Lady of Mercy sixth graders coming tomorrow for a field trip.
no kidding. What grade?
Sixth grade.
Okay. My daughter's at 7th, and then son's in 3rd.
Awesome.
My oldest is a senior at SJA. So
Okay.
They'll
Well,
be
that's a
there
great
for
school.
yeah.
9 to 11, and then we have.
All right.
another
Thanks,
group.
Brian. Appreciate it. Thank you. All right.
Thank you.
Thank y'all. I mistimed the lobby interview, so I wouldn't promote it. This is a sold out event, so I don't know. So we're fine with nothing today.
Sounds good.
Yeah. What was it? All right. Oh, man.
Oh man.
Unbelievable. I missed the Sicilian Heritage Festival in Independence.
What was that?
Last weekend.
Oh.
Oh. Galen says many documents signed by President Joe Biden were done so using an auto pen. These documents should be voided. Why? I'm just curious as to why on that one, Galen. I don't have a take either way. Because it's not something I would ever think of. But why? Hit me up with your reasoning. I might be on board with you here. $8:56 Talk 107.3 FM WBRP mornings with Brian Haldane rolling right along. Gonna get you to the outside in just a second. I do need to remind you about the folks over at Landmark Bank. Check them out online. LandmarkBankLA.com. LandmarkBankLA.com. Make sure you don't just have a bank, you have a banker. If you're in the Baton Rouge surrounding area, Clinton, Zachary, Denham, Greensburg, Brewley, Landmark Bank's got you covered. And you get all the features and all the benefits of some of the national banks while not losing that personal touch, not losing that personal relationship. And when I talk about all the benefits, how about the, just for an example, how about the Kazasa cashback checking? You get free checking that pays you back. You get 4% cash back on debit card purchases every month that you qualify. There are limits to it, to be sure, but it's a great program. If you want to learn more, check out landmarkbankla.com. While you're there, check out where the branches are, where the locations are, to make sure you've got a Landmark Bank close to you. And then, of course, the follow-up on that is don't just have a bank, have a banker. They believe in personal relationships. They believe that when you walk through that front door, the person you're shaking hands with is the person you're going to deal with. They know you, you know them. That's what it's all about with landmarkbankla.com. All right, let's hit up the outside in. Looks like Baton Rouge is not the only ones dealing with a library millage rate issue. Coming up on March 29th, West Baton Rouge residents will decide on a property tax rate renewal that funds the operations and maintenance of the parish's library system in their branches. Quote, it's a renewal of our existing millages. It's 4.1 mils that takes us through 2035. It's for 10 years, says Library Executive Director Tammy Martin. This, by the way, is their only source of income. Yes Vote keeps would also help the library fund its outreach programs, including working with the West Baton Rouge Council on Aging. Moving over from West Baton Rouge to Tangipahoa Parish, dadgummit, missed the Independence Sicilian Heritage Festival over the weekend. Look, if you've never been to this before, I highly recommend. I gotta wait a year to get into it before next year. But we're talking festivals, we're talking music, we're talking food. So much good food. And of course, all about the Italian or the Sicilian heritage culture that they celebrate within. It goes on down in Independence, and it went down last weekend. Speaking of things that were going on last weekend, John, did you see this where, we got a minute left. Mid-City Gras went ahead and rolled their makeup date for the parade of North Boulevard. Our news partners at WBRZ, I kind of have to make fun of them here. They have a two-sentence story to recap Mid-City Gras.
Okay.
Here you go. Mid-City Gras rolled down North Boulevard on Sunday after being rescheduled due to weather. The theme was squirrels on film this year and cruise through acorns for revelers.
Okay.
That's the extent of the coverage.
That's it.
That sounds awful. Hey, I tell you what, why don't you come out to North Boulevard? I'm going to throw acorns at you. Does that sound like a good time to you?
No, of course not.
Oh, man. Yeah, that's how it
Could've
played
been
out.
better, right?
Yeah, we're all done. Moon Griffon's next. We'll see you tomorrow. This was way too hot when I got back on it. You couldn't hear me clipping? This was way too hot after I got back on it.
It was up a little bit. Yeah. My bad.
Well, you had it when I move over there, it's got to be adjusted up. What's happening? Yeah, it got to be adjusted up, and then but when I come back over here, I was definitely clipping. Galen says, who controlled the auto pen? Were these documents actually approved by the president? You really want to get into the whole the executive branch works for the executive discussion? Because the executive branch would have been behind whoever signed it. And that's, if you're hired by the executive branch, you're signed off on by the president. That's how I could defend Elon Musk doing what Elon Musk does. Because it's signed off on, you're signed, I'm saying signed off as a figure of speech, not actual physical signature. But if you want to give Joe Biden an out for anything, I have no reason to believe that he wasn't behind all the bullshit that came down over the last 4 years. He is who we thought he was, as Dennis Green used to say as a football coach. He is who we thought he was. So no, I think, follow me here. I don't want to give him escapability from blame. You're looking for something that will get us out of any predicaments that were created. I say, let's deal with that the right way, through future legislation or future executive orders. No, you don't get to have 4 years and then call it off as a mulligan because the president didn't have the wherewithal. You've made your bed, now lie in it. You crapped in your bed, now lie in it. That's where I'm at. Is that short-sighted and petty, Galen? Little bit. For example, passing a bill that requires the president to sign. No, I don't know. Now that you explain it, I know exactly where you're at. I get it completely. But no, you did it. You did it. You made it happen. Every piece of shit that went through there came out the other side and made us worse as a society. We have to live with it. So deal with your place in history, Joe. All right. We're getting out of here. We'll see you tomorrow.